Yeah, so right now we're very much focused on applying AI in the drafting phase of the Bible translation process. We've developed software called Scripture Forge that allows a translation team to take the translation work they've already completed. The Scripture Forge will take that data and train a model, an AI model, a machine translation model that will then generate a draft of the next book that they're working on. So this draft, we refer to this as a draft zero. It's very much a rough draft that the translation team can then work on to improve and correct and sort of get into its final form. That really greatly helps to speed up that whole process of doing that initial draft. It's normally done by the translation team themselves, and it takes a lot of time to come up with that first draft. One of the advantages of it is that we're training on the translation team's work already. So it's very much modeling the translation team, their expertise, their knowledge, their decision-making process. So it creates a draft that's very much familiar to them. It's how they would do it in their style. And so it ends up with usually a very high quality draft. So yeah, that's how we're really using AI, and we're currently at this point, I think there are probably over 400 projects that are using this software, real translation projects. The feedback that we've gotten from them has been excellent. They find it very useful, and it really helps to speed up their process. And so at this point, many books have been drafted using this approach, and we're hoping to be able to expand it to more and more projects, so it has a larger impact. After they will then go in and correct that draft, but there's a whole process. It then follows kind of the normal translation process, so it doesn't disrupt. It fits very well into their existing process. There's different checking stages that it goes through, where there's team checks that are done to help improve the draft. There's oftentimes community checks where they test that draft out within other speakers in the community to see if it's understandable and clear. And then there's a consultant check. So an expert then looks at it and helps to find any issues in it. We've found that that consultant checks, that translation consultants see the quality of the drafts that are generated using this process are just as good, and oftentimes even better, because they're often more consistent. The model helps to make more consistent drafts than humans. Humans tend to be inconsistent sometimes, but computers can be more consistent. So our focus has been on drafting up to this point, but drafting is just one step in a much larger process. And so we can speed up that drafting step as much as we can, but still, there's still these other steps aren't gaining any benefits from artificial intelligence. And so one of the key steps is and I've spoke about this before, was the translation team has to edit those drafts, correct those drafts based off of feedback from other translation team members, from consultants. And so we want to help inject AI tools into those steps as well to help speed up those parts of the process. And so that's kind of where intelligent editing comes into play. We're working on a product, a set of tools called Links, to help inject those kinds of AI capabilities into the editing process. Right now, the current tools that are available to translators, they're done in these kinds of tools are often done in kind of a batch mode, is the term that's used, where it's kind of at the end of the process. They've already kind of completed the draft, and maybe they fixed it up, then they run these tools and it finds all sorts of issues in their draft. And then they have to go through, after they've kind of completed it, they have to go through this long list of potential issues, go back in there and try and correct the problems. And oftentimes they're now kind of out of that context. They haven't looked at those verses in a while. And so that kind of a process, it's just not an efficient process. And so what we want to do is we want to allow and surface those issues right away as the translators are working in the text and they're editing and they're drafting. These intelligent editing capabilities will sort of surface those issues and display and highlight the problems right away so that they can recognize it, and then they're already in that mode, they're in that context of editing that particular verse, so they can correct the issue immediately. And the current tools are often, there's a lot of manual setup to them, a lot of knowledge you have to build into it to make them work. Well, we want to automate that as much as possible, so that these tools, these AI tools, can sort of analyze the text, see where the issues are, point them out to the users, to the translators right away, so they can fix them. So we think that can help speed up the process even more, and it also has sort of downstream impacts as well, where the quality, it should help increase the quality of the drafts that go to translation consultants. And translation consultants are our biggest bottleneck right now in the whole translation process. There's not a lot of them, and they're really important. So if we can make it easier on the translation consultants by making the drafts better, then that can help to reduce that bottleneck greatly.